Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. My name is Corey.
And I am Joel, aka J Rose. Once again, check out my YouTube, Spotify, all streaming platforms. Follow me on all social media platforms. J Rose Music Official, JROSE Music Official. Today we have a very interesting type of video. Today we're going to be talking about twin flames, trauma bonds, and soulmates. So when we think about a soulmate, we usually think about somebody who makes our heart pound a mile a minute. We think about somebody who sweeps us off our feet. We think about somebody who is made for us. You know, Money Long Song, Twin, where have you been? Nobody knows me like you do. We think about somebody who is just that one person in the world that we can go to that just gets us, that nobody else gets us but that one person. But sometimes we have to stop and we really have to think about whether that person's really a soulmate or we're potentially trauma bonding. Is this a potential twin flame, or is this a spiritual tie that we need to release ourselves of? So we're going to be talking about that, and we're going to be differentiating all of the different types and what to look out for, and when you need to kind of reflect on your relationship with you and your partner, whoever that may be, to really ask yourself, is this a soulmate, a twin flame, a trauma bond, a soul tie, or something that you need to release yourself of? Because a lot of the times we get into these types of relationships and we get into these types of patterns and we don't even realize it. And before you know it, you're in a mess. So I don't know if you'd like to lead it today and you'd like to kind of begin.
Sure. I feel like soulmates has become a very, trendy type of word to use.
That part.
And I feel like people who haven't even, done the work to learn even about, more about themselves and like the internal kind of shadow side of things are so willy-nilly and quick to use such, deep language that they really don't really fully grasp the half of. And I feel like similar to the title of the video, trauma bonding can be mistaken for that deep connection of what a soulmate actually is. And I feel like when you bond and you share the dark depths of that kind of traumatic experience, whether it be from childhood or previous relations or whatever traumatic experience, and then you guys exchange that, whether that be, and some people consider can consider friends as soulmates, some people consider romantic partners as soulmates, which is obviously more common, and then I guess twin flame is a whole kind of thing as well. When you share those kind of dark parts of yourself and exchange that darkness with somebody else, you can it creates more so like a tie than like a natural kind of magnetic kind of spark. I feel like there's more so like a tie that binds you if you let it. Every interaction we make with people can make like a slight type of energetic bond, but I feel like when you start sharing that trauma with people and exchanging that, it can form into something much more, nuanced and easily mistaken for something that when it's a soulmate connection, that you don't have to question it. And I feel like a lot of people are kind of caught up in trauma bonding. So I guess lack of therapy and lack of awareness and like lack of knowing any better, honestly. I feel like it's easier to find someone to trauma bond with than to find someone that your soul like naturally resonates with. And when it's hard to, seems cliche, but and it's hard to like fully put it into words, but like when everybody's relation is different. But for signs of it being a trauma bond, what would you say some signs of a trauma bond are?
Well, I guess I kind of like to start off by saying I think of us human beings as each of us, every single one of us, think of us as one string of yarn. And you know what happens when we were a kid? If you ever played with yarn and you make a ball, you roll it and you entangle it with different colors and such, and it becomes one big ball of yarn. Every time, as he said, that you have any type of connection or relation with somebody, albeit just a regular friendship, something more spiritual, sexual, etc., you are forming some kind of energetic tie. So you have to think of yourself as one big pool of energy that gets shared amongst different people within your life every time you have an interaction. Okay, so for instance, you're in a relationship and you're with your partner. You guys are, having sexual intercourse, etc., etc. You guys are emotionally sharing with one another. You guys are exchanging energies, and sometimes, before you know it, you can end up in something called a soul tie, where you have a certain type of connection with somebody that isn't necessarily a soulmate connection, but it's a soul tie from exchanging of sexual intercourse, trauma, spiritual aspects of that, and just being with somebody for a certain amount of time, and energies intermixing and becoming one convoluted mess sometimes. I'd like to say that a trauma bond sometimes stems from, well, trauma. You end up meeting somebody, you guys share, and this isn't always a relationship. This could be a friendship. It can be a different, it can even be a parent and child relationship. When you go through something traumatic and it's shared amongst another person, or rather, if you are sharing your trauma and you guys are helping each other to heal, being a soundboard for somebody else's trauma, what happens is spiritually, you guys are interconnecting on levels that we cannot see. So when you are experiencing trauma with somebody, let's just say if you're in a relationship, there's toxicity, or you guys are going through similar things within life, because let's be honest, there's so many of us and all of us go through similar things within life. Sometimes what happens is you start forming a trauma bond where you guys feel comfortable with one another because you guys have experienced the same thing, and you guys don't know what a relationship looks outside of that, because you feel that that person is the only person who can understand you because of the shared trauma. You guys have that in common. And sometimes what happens is, and I've seen this in mother and son relationships, father and daughter relationships, I've seen this in boyfriend and girlfriend, I've seen this in all different types of relationships. What happens is you guys end up almost kind of secluding yourselves to one another, and sticking with one another, thinking that they're the only person that can understand you. So when we're talking, because today I want to talk about, and we're going to be talking about soulmates, and we're going to be talking about twin flames and trauma bonding in terms of relationships. So I don't want to get into the other aspects, but I just want to let you know that it's an umbrella for sure. Essentially, when we're talking in terms of a relationship, intimately between two human beings, a soul tie, trauma bond, twin flame, they can look very similar, but the interconnectedness, sorry, and what makes of it is very different. So when we're talking about, as he said, a trauma bond is formed from shared trauma. So what that would look like are two individuals going through something similar, at least from my perspective. And what happens is you guys end up forming some kind of relationship, and that relationship can sprout into an actual full-blown commitment with that person, because again, you feel sometimes indebted and devoted to that person because of the shared trauma, and because you feel that nobody else will be able to relate, nobody else will be able to see you like that person sees you. So you create a relationship that the foundation wasn't necessarily love, but the trauma bond kind of replaced that love. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. It replaced that love. So whereas love is needed to make a foundation of an actual wholesome, healthy relationship, instead of love, it's trauma. And then what happens is that trauma formulates in some kind of toxic love, because you feel connected to that person. So you feel, well, I must love them, I must commit to them, they understand me, we understand each other, we went through X, Y, and Z with one another, this must be love. And before you know it, you are in you're in an entanglement, as
Entanglement with
Jada said, an entanglement with August. So I mean, like, at the end of the day, you have to be very careful Because when you are sharing trauma with another human being, you are sharing energetically. And when you make these types of ties, you don't see them. These things happen, and before you know it, as I said, you're in an entanglement. You are balled up in that yarn with two people, and it's now one big ball of interconnected mess. And again, sometimes it's hard to get out of it, because how can you get out of a relationship with somebody when you guys done went through X, Y, and Z with one another? Who else is going to understand? So you think. So it looks very similar to a relationship sometimes, and you program yourself to think that it's healthy. You program yourself to think that this is my person because we went through these things, so I need to stay with them, I need to be committed with them, even though the love may not be there. And what happens is at some point within that relationship, when said trauma starts to, because again, I say time heals everything. So when, let's just say, that storm starts to blow over and you start to see the sunlight, you're going to start sometimes to feel in your heart, if you, especially if you're very intuitive with yourself, you start to feel in your heart that something is wrong, that the foundation is kind of rocky, because unless we're going through this trauma, what other connections do we have? You guys might not even have much in common, but because you guys went through these things, you guys think that you're meant for one another. But when those things are done, when those said traumas have been blown over, or when you're starting to heal, what is left? It's two strangers alone in the dark, who committed to one another because they shared a common thing, which was the trauma. And it's very sad because a lot of us, including myself, have been victims of that. And again, it really messes you up mentally, and it warps your whole perception of what you thought love was. And you got to be very careful. We will talk more about soul ties and twin flames, because twin flames, and I should say soulmates, they can look very similar, but you got to be very careful. I will give the floor back to you, and I explained kind of what a trauma bond looks like, and how that can mimic that of a soulmate, or quote unquote a healthy relationship. What do you think?
In terms of, I guess, soulmates versus twin flames, or in terms of trauma bonds?
Well,
Like,
what do you think about what I said in terms of trauma bonds? And what do you think about what I said, just kind of in terms of the interconnectedness and how it can look similar, but the intricacies are different?
yeah, I feel like there's a lot of red flags with trauma bonds. I feel like there's a heightened level of perhaps codependency, a heightened level of like different toxic traits that can appear. And especially like over time, I feel like maybe initially it might be, depending on the relation, it might be like seemingly more normalized, especially if it's something that was birthed out of dual kind of experience of trauma, or shared experience of trauma, I should say. But I feel like over time it starts to rear its head as the foundation, like you said, is kind of birthed on like shaky waters, and it's not like steady, and it's not based on like the core values of what a true lasting, I guess, relation should be. And I feel like not everybody is gonna be like privy to it being an actual trauma bond until like it's like you're in deep I feel like
Into the thick of
it. I feel like, yeah, there's a lot of learning, trial and error that has to go on. And you like, it's only like hindsight 2020, I feel like in the midst of trying to unravel each other from the bond that's been established, you then start to realize the intricacies of each, I guess, thread. It's not potentially like the healthiest thing, but I feel like when it's a soulmate relationship, you more times, if you listen to your spirit, you would know from like right off the bat. And I feel like, not to say that every relationship obviously has its ups and its downs, and its different levels of what goes on in the midst of it. But when and foundationally, like, you should be able to talk about traumatic things, and it's not something that like binds you in an unhealthy way. There's not that level of codependency of like to a toxic degree, or like, I feel like with a soulmate, you should be able to like wholeheartedly commit and not feel any remorse or regret, and like be able to fit each other like puzzle pieces. And I feel like with trauma bonds, it's like the puzzle pieces don't match, but you're trying to make it fit anyways. And over time, it's gonna be like, well, I know that like this nub on this side was trying to fit into this space, but this space is shaped like this, and this nub was shaped like this. So it's like you tried to force it in, but like someone's gonna get hurt in the long run of that, versus something that kind of fits like naturally. And that's just like an easier type of connection. I feel like it's clear to see that. And the difference, I guess, between soulmates and even twin flames, like twin flames, I feel like it can be like something that can come up multiple times. Like, I feel like what you can meet your twin flame when you're young, and then it might not work out, but then something, fate might have it where you meet again in a later point where both the circumstances can be more aligned. And not to say that necessarily twin flames aren't soulmates per se, but sometimes it's more, I guess, karmic and more of a fiery kind of passion and intensity, instead of necessarily the stability. But sometimes both exist within the same person, the same vessel. But there's different, I guess, relations and paths and paths that people can share with different individuals. And I feel like there's a lot of people in this planet, honestly, and there's a lot of people that resonate with your spirit and your soul that you might encounter as like a chosen family, and that can like resonate with you on a level that's very very deep, and that can be like an acquaintance that some of your own blood relatives might not even vibe on that same type of level. But so I feel like, yeah, what do you think?
Okay, I'm gonna say something very controversial, and only controversial because I've heard people tell me that. So I believe that your twin flame is that reflection of your other half of your soul. Your twin flame is that one person that embodies everything that you could imagine for a human being, that you could possibly channel all your love into. That person is the very reflection of your love imbued in a physical form. A soulmate is somebody that can be many different people. Now, when I say that, I do believe that many people can be your soulmate. There are lots of different people in this world, and there's lots of different people who you could fit that puzzle piece to. People who you could live with and live a very happy life with. But a twin flame, as he said, is karmic. If you meet again at one particular age, let's just say at 16, you will meet again in 25. You will meet again at 30. That person will always come back to you, because that person, that puzzle piece, can only fit the other half of your heart. And it's a particular fit because the only other half of your heart that can fit is yours, is your own. So when you meet somebody and their half of their heart connects with yours, that is one. That is one. A twin flame is one. I do not believe that there's many different twin flames. I believe that there's many different soulmates, but the twin flame is that half of you. It's the half of your heart that can only fit with yours, and yours can fit with theirs. Now, a soulmate and a twin flame, of course, can look similar, because again, a soulmate is somebody who, you meet, that you resonate with, and that you share common interests with, that makes you laugh, that makes you happy, that makes you smile, that just makes your heart melt. You just want to melt into that person, and you want to love them forever and ever. And there's interconnectedness when it comes between a twin flame and a soulmate. But I just believe that the twin flame is just, again, it's just that, it's the twin flame. It's the two fires that burn, that creates one. And without that one fire, you don't burn the same until you meet that flame again and reignite. It's just that beautiful. But I kind of wanted to take it back a bit. I wanted to talk about soul ties. We talked about trauma bonding. Trauma bonding also does kind of tie in with soul ties, but it's a little different. So let's talk about a popular, unpopular opinion, the hookup culture. So, we're adults. I'm sure we're all aware of what that is. I also do want to apologize about the lighting. When we started this video, the sun was up and the sun went down so fast. We just came from a walk, and I swear within like an hour, it's dark now. So I do apologize. This will be the only time that you'll see bad lighting like this. Moving forward, it won't be good. But the conversation is still sweet. So I want to talk about soul ties, hookup culture. You're meeting different people, you're getting to know different people, you're dating, you're hooking up, you're sharing with one another intimately, and you are creating something called soul ties. So have you ever had a weird unexplained connection with somebody that you may have hooked up with or went on a date with and shared intimately with, and you for some reason feel that there's this strange connection? You're not in love with this person. Hey, you might not even like this person, but for some reason there is a connection that you cannot rid yourself of, at least consciously. And subconsciously that person is on your mind, and for some reason every time you see one another it reignites some kind of pseudo passion, and you don't know why, but it's just like you feel it in your soul that something's drawing you to that person. Sometimes you have a soul tie, and you have to release yourself of those things. To release yourself, you have to go within yourself. You have to acknowledge that there may be an actual soul tie, and you have to release that. You have to say, I release that person. I release you. We've had our moment, but this is not going beyond anything than just that moment. And you have to release yourself, because what can happen is you can end up forming I don't want to say a fake relationship, but a relationship on a rocky foundation with somebody who you have a soul tie with. And what happens with soul ties are you end up having this like connection, this kind of connection. Again, you'll be able to kind of create artificial love, and you'll be able to create an artificial connection from a soul tie sometimes, because again you guys feel connected. But sometimes what happens is, and a lot of times what happens is after those things are said and done, those things that connected you in the first place, you're gonna find yourself looking at this person and being like, I don't know if I see myself long term. A lot of the times with soul ties, you can't see yourself long term. You're just drawn to this person and you don't know why. And so that's why I always say you have to be very careful who you share your energy with. You have to pick and choose. I get it. We're all adults. We're all testing the waters. We're all putting ourselves out there and whatnot. But I want to let you know, as I said, we are a pool of energy. We are a pool of energy that transfers energy every single day. Even from the moment you shake somebody's hand, a tinge of your energy was shared with that person, and that person shared with yours. You have to be mindful of that. You have to be mindful whose energy you're also absorbing, because you're also absorbing other people's energy. Some people's energy may be more chaotic than others. Some people's energy, it might not resonate with yours, and you're bringing that home, and you could potentially be sharing that with other people. You have to learn to rid yourself of that energy through whatever practices that be: prayer, meditation, self-reflection, journaling, acknowledging, because admitting is the first step. Hey, therapy. But just acknowledging that at the end of the day, you want to release yourself of that, or figuring out a way to cleanse yourself. For myself, I've realized that in the past, I've had a lot of soul ties with people. Think of it like sometimes, when you meet somebody, you add them on Instagram, follow them on Instagram, you guys talk for a few days, you don't talk anymore, but they're still following you, you're still following them. You don't know why you're following them, but you just kind of are. You guys watch each other's stories, you guys watch each other's things, you never really like each other's stuff. It's kind of like a ghost follower. Sometimes that's a soul tie. That's kind of what a soul tie can feel like. It's like sometimes you guys might not even talk anymore, but they're still drawn to that person, and there's unfinished business. But that unfinished business is us having to release ourselves of that. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, because that is something that it's very prevalent, and it happens so often. And so often we overlook those types of things, and we go through our life just transferring energy and not being aware of the potential harm that it could be causing us, or also to the spiritual baggage that we carry along with us throughout life. Like, what do you think about that? And like, what's your take?
Bag lady.
Bag lady, yes. You gonna hurt
Yeah,
your back.
dragging all them bags
Mm-hmm.
like that. It's true. I feel like, yeah, the ghost follower is a good analogy,
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day, it's just taking up room and space and potentially blocking things that are meant to come into your life.
That part.
And the sooner you get rid of them, the sooner things can open up for you energetically, like different doors, and different, I guess, space in your life. Because why are you carrying all this baggage? And like, I guess that kind of coincides a little bit with trauma dumping too, like
Mm-hmm.
dumping out all this baggage onto somebody else
Mm-hmm.
is just like, whoa,
Yep.
it's a lot, so it's good to rid yourself of that and clear your house when you can, if you're ready for something serious, or get to the next level of whatever, I guess, pursues.
True.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I definitely feel that this is the side of love that we don't talk about. Um, we just like to think about love like just roses, hearts, Cupid, and just unconditional. But there is a side of love that we don't talk about, and these types of things are very important, because a lot of these things mask themselves and disguise themselves as love. But what they are their ties. Sometimes they stem from loneliness. Sometimes they stem from just wanting to be heard. Sometimes they stem from connections that might not have needed to go as far as a relationship, perhaps a friendship. Perhaps a lot of the times they come from unfinished business that we have within ourselves. And as you said, trauma dumping and putting on to other people. But again, love is love. And you have to understand that when you love somebody, when you found your soul tie, when you are, sorry, not soul tie, child, when you found your soulmate and you found your twin flame, that love and that foundation should be built upon two people who fall in love with one another for their characteristics, their qualities, that attraction that you have to them, the love of their ambition and the love of their hobbies and their passions, a connectedness of two people who resonate with one another, and not necessarily based on the traumas or sexual chemistry. Sexual chemistry is of course a part of it, but if sexual chemistry is the main part, and you guys only seem to connect on a sexual level, sometimes you need to evaluate that, because that might not be love. There might be some kind of energetic tie that you guys have, and that might just be as far as it goes. So assure that any time that you're stepping into what you think could be love, step outside of it and acknowledge the relationship between you and that other person and that commitment, and just assure that the foundation is healthy and the foundation is built upon two people who love each other for who they are, and what they bring to the table, beyond just those types of things, beyond materialistic things, beyond sexual. But that person, that you want to wake up to that person every single day for the rest of your life, and you want to devote yourself to that person, that you want to eventually go on your knee or say I do, that you see yourself walking into forever with that person. And understand that in life, you are not obligated to be with somebody that you've shared trauma with. You are not obligated to be with somebody forever that you've shared intimately with. And you are not obligated to be with somebody who you may think that you're in love with, but you may not be. At the end of the day, love is a sure thing. It is a very sure thing. So again, let's talk about love. Let's talk about love, no pun intended, and let's bring light to these important things, and let's teach this to our friends, our family, and all those around us, just to assure that we are being self-aware, because self-awareness is important. Self-awareness is something that we need to walk through life in order to navigate the challenges that may arise. Again, this is it's a very complex, nuanced topic, and I know that other people have their own opinions, so these are just my opinions. These are just my I don't want to say tips, but maybe perhaps my advice and things that I've learned, findings that I have found out through experience, and things that I have learned just going through life and understanding the dualities of the human mind, the heart, the soul, and understanding the true depth of who we are as people, and the layers that we have within ourselves, and how blurred lines can get. Honestly, like, things can go from here to there very quick, and self-awareness can allow you to sometimes take a moment to breathe, to reflect, and to walk back in and say, this is what it is.
I don't have anything else to say, I think.
So, do you want to close it? Yeah. So, this is the side of love that they do not talk about. Soul ties, soulmates, twin flames, trauma bonding, everything just laid out for you guys to digest, and to, also to, hey, Mimi, what's up? She's in the back there. She came with us on a walk. Now it's dark. We have to go home, child. I don't know. We're in this park right now. It's completely empty. But it was perfect because we were able to make our video without anybody being nosy. People like to mind your business when you're minding your own business. People like to mind your business the most. But again, let's talk about love. Let us know what you think about this video. This is video number 5. Okay, this is amazing because we have set a consistent schedule of releasing videos. Again, content's gonna get more fun, it's gonna get more deep. You're gonna see more of our personalities, dualities, and my twin flame here, and we are going to show you what our life is day to day. And I just hope that this video resonated with you. I hope our videos resonate with you. And yeah, would you like to say anything before we close?
Be sure to like, comment if you've had any experiences with twin flames or soulmates, whether that be chosen family or loved ones in your life, past, present, or future aspirations of finding those types of people. And yeah, subscribe to our channel if you want more. And we love you. Thank you so much.
See you later.
Peace.